Hey everybody, this is Sully with 5 Freaking Onion Rings, and I'm gonna drop a little bit of FPV budget knowledge on you. Today's Monday, and I feel like getting some stuff off my chest. If I don't, I'm going to one day wake up and regret it, and I don't like feeling that way. I don't think anyone likes feeling that way. Just a little bit about myself, I like to save money where I can. And if COVID-19 has taught me anything, it's that haircuts are totally optional and not quite mandatory. And I actually I'm loving the COVID look, the Corona hair. I'm loving it, actually. I do. Anyway, I'm going to drop some knowledge here. I'm going to get a few things off about the FPV community that just kind of tweak me a little bit. They annoy me. It's actually a couple things. One's on budget and two's on the hobby dying. And I say that with the utmost sincerity. And I know I normally like to joke around a lot, but I think that two things are going to happen. Number one, let's get into the hobby dying first. Regulations are coming. Okay, we can work around those. That's no problem. What I do see more and more of, though, are people digging in their heels on what their rights are when they're out flying. I don't think very many people realize they are ambassadors of FPV whenever they're out in public, because to a lot of people, that quadcopter is the first thing they've seen of the FPV community, and they may think DJI drone, or they may think you're spying on them or something, and they might come and approach and tell you that offhand. And what I've seen lately, instead of having a constructive conversation, they're starting an argument about what they're doing, and they have rights to fly here and blah blah blah. And you have to understand, you do have rights to fly. You do if you're following every rule, and you have your ham radio license, and if you're putting your videos up, you have a FAA 107 license, and if you have a spotter, and if you're not flying in a no-fly zone within miles of an airport, 5 miles, I believe, and if you're staying under 400 feet, and if you're not flying over people, and if you're not flying in events. And what I'm trying to say here is you do have rights, but you gotta check yourself. And are you really doing all these things? Because you might not be. But the person approaching you probably has no clue about that. All they hear is a 5-inch buzzsaw up that's interrupting their afternoon. And they're approaching you to probably express displeasure with hearing a 5-inch buzzsaw flying around and bothering their afternoon. And that's fine. I've had this happen personally, where someone comes up, they're like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, da, 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 da. And normally the conversation ends up with, oh, I can't see much. Here's the goggles. And I show them, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. I call those good interactions. And what I've seen lately are more argument types. And some of them are still good, but I'm seeing a lot more arguments, let's put it that way, especially in the online community. It bothers me because they'll say Karen came up and yada, yada, yada. Karen, the Karen term, they may have come up, and they really don't know what they're arguing about, but they know they're grieved. The interaction they walk away from sometimes will lead them to go to a city council meeting, which will then enact laws which will restrict air flight a little bit more, like in parks, to where you'll see no drone flying pop up in a park where you used to fly, and you'll see police actively monitoring that. And you'll see it. So a side consequence of some of the arguments over who has the right to fly and do whatever, wherever, laws happen because people are annoyed. And I know it sounds really weird, but that's really how local municipalities work. I mean, we've all seen the stop sign pop up and think, why the heck would you put a stop sign here? Something happened and someone got annoyed. So whenever you see the next no drone flying sign pop up, something happened, someone got annoyed, the city responded. And that will keep happening more and more. So while people worry about these FAA regulations coming around, it's not the FAA that's going to kill the hobby. It's people interacting and not being good ambassadors for the hobby that will kill the hobby. Because I guarantee you, if you're out flying and someone comes up and they're not happy with your flight, and you engage and you actively engage and you're nice and you're friendly, and they come away with this going, wow, that was really cool. I got to watch someone fly FPV. I've never seen it before. Hey, that's really cool. Lots of those interactions happen, and they normally leave people with better impressions. But I'm seeing a lot more people go, I know what I do. I carry whenever I ride, whenever I fly, and I've got whatever you have. I don't care. Like, all you're doing is hurting the hobby. because you're going to end up restricting space for other people to try to enjoy this hobby. So be careful out there. I mean, yeah, know your rights, but just know that someone who's annoyed will be able to enact change more than someone who's happy with the interaction. So even if the whole altercation goes down with you just simply saying, oh, I'm sorry to have disturbed you, and you move to another location, that is still far, far better than getting into an argument with someone who approaches you or someone who has a problem with your drone flying. Now, I'm not saying you can make everyone happy. You can't. I know that. There's always going to be someone who does something weird and the police might get involved and, you know, heck, whatever. The other part of this is that I don't feel like a lot of people know just how fast things go wrong. So whenever I see someone flying in a park and there are kids around, you really have no idea how small a quarter of a mile is and how fast 95 miles per hour is until you have a flyaway. And then you have that quad drop out of the sky into a sandbox that's literally a quarter of a mile away. So when you fly, be safe. Like, be safe. That's all I'm trying to say here. So that is one grievance. The other grievance that I think is going to end up destroying this hobby are the cost of parts and first generation pieces. I don't know if this is going to destroy it, but it's definitely an impediment. If you bought an analog set of goggles, they'll last you for years. A good HDO Fat Sharks. I mean, Mr. Steele's used his for years. I was thinking about it and I'm like, wow, okay, cool. They're really good. And then you get DJI comes out with their digital. And you're like, wow, that's really good. That's cool. And DJI goggles are great. They're pricey, but they're great. They're not that much more expensive for a DJI setup than for an analog setup. What scares me though was a couple of posts I saw on Reddit where someone's like, I want to go digital, but not this generation. And then it dawned on me, DJI is doing incremental upgrades, but when they come out with Gen 2, nothing about Gen 2 says it will work with Gen 1. If they go along their normal upgrade path, they're going to end up with several generations that may not be backwards compatible. So every time you spend that $900 to get air units for your quads, the actual controller, and the goggles themselves, you may only be getting a few years worth. Whereas with an analog setup, 80 bucks gets you years if you want. It's just something to think about whenever you go out and you think, ooh, where am I going to put my money? I personally love digital. I think it's great. I think it is the future. I'm just scared that the generational changes will make it like power adapters for cell phones, where each one is going to be just enough different that, yeah, it's only supplying 5 volts at 1 amp, but it's just different enough it doesn't fit. So every time you upgrade, you're going to have to go through this process again. So that's something to be careful about, which leads me to my next point with quadcopter parts and a certain brand name recognition that I've seen lately. And it's basically, if you fly a quad and it's a Tiro 69, total cheap quad, I totally get it. Or a Diatone or a Gep RC, or even the Diatone like Cinewoop, $400 quad versus a $70 quad. The way I look at it is that I have the chance of breaking either one of these equally. So whenever I look at something and I say, hey, am I going to break this? Am I going to break a $400 piece, or am I going to break an $80 piece? What I've seen lately is where if you post something and you're like, ooh, here's an eSheen TX02, 20 bucks. Here's a TBS Unify that's 50 bucks. Okay. They'll both transmit, they'll both do a good job, and one's 2.5 times more than the other. But if you post about bragging about an eSheen piece, you're going to get hate from the TBS people, and vice versa. I mean, it's comical to me. We're all in a hobby that has destructible, disposable pieces. And if you can spend $50 on something or $15 on something and it not be a clone, okay, I don't like clones, I will say that, but that's why I'm not talking about frames for one. But the difference between 50 and 15 is literally in some cases a name. And the people pushing you to buy these are calling out for those names more than the product, what it does, and how your experience is with it. And this is a destructible piece, which cameras are, VTXs go out all the time, the expensive ones and the cheap ones. Frames are, to an extent, the thing with frames, you can get better frames. They do cost more, but you're actually not getting longevity as much as warranty and fit and finish, because I guarantee you an Armaton frame and a cheap little piece off of Banggood, they're probably going to break the same way or similarly if you smash into concrete. Goes to my other point on why people think that the only way to get better is to fly over concrete or fly in bandos where you run into brick walls. That's not the only way to get better. I'm sorry, there's a thing called practice. You might want to try it. But yeah, I'm just freaking like, ooh. I just want to say, when you go out to piece out a new quad and you go to buy parts and you go to think about this hobby, think about it holistically, set a budget, and be realistic about what you're wanting to do. And I have a couple of nice quads. I have a couple of quads that cost a few $100s now, and I fly them not nearly as much as I fly a Tiro 69, and I haven't flown any lately because it's been freaking raining, but I enjoy both of them equally. And I enjoy the Tiro because I can fly it pretty much anywhere, and I enjoy the other, the Diatone and the Gep RC, because they're fantastic experiences. Both will get me in the air, and both will get me a very, very, very good afternoon. So if one is $80 and one is $400, and I'm starting out not sure where I want to go, but I want to get a nice experience, I gotta go with the $80 tryout first. And honestly, if you'd never shown me the difference and I just put on the goggles and I fly both of them, I guarantee you my smile factor, this is 100% guaranteed because I do it all the freaking time, my smile factor is the exact same no matter which quad, as long as they're flying well. I just enjoy the flight. So if I can get 5 times as many on one hand or one on the other, I'm gonna take what's getting me in the air more often. So that's why I wanted to stress to you. I know this one went long, I'm sorry. I know that looking at my hair is fabulous. I want to thank you all for staying if you stuck along. I'm moving the channel a little bit more away from quadcopters, not because I don't love it, but because weather and trying to get new parts in, especially in COVID, is very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. So I will be doing more music related things and more video. So I hope you stay tuned for it. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see. If you hang out on my live stream, I'm starting to do some beats, so hope you enjoy that. And much like one of my favorite FPV pilots, RC Addict, has been streaming games. So I don't do games. That takes on a whole new. I'm not that good of a gamer. I love it. But if I stream, it's just normally FPV simulators because it's just relaxing to me and I don't get to fly any other way right now. But anyway, I'm moving the channel away from that, away from FPV solely into more just stuff I enjoy, because quite honestly, if I don't, I won't be able to make videos because I won't have any content, because I can't get out to fly right now and I can't get parts in to review. So thank you so much for sticking around. Love you all. Be nice out there. Just remember, every time you interact with the general public and they don't know what FPV is, you're an ambassador. And without you, the hobby will die. I guarantee it. I know FAA worries some people, but I'm more worried about municipal laws and the low-level things that can directly impact your enjoyment. So thank you very much. Hope you have a good one. Be good, be nice, be kind. Wear a mask if you go out in public, if you're in these states. The other places where you can open up, congratulations on getting it under control. And for all you teachers out there, good job. For all you police, good job. For all you protesters, good job. So love you all. Just remember, I don't even know what you should just remember other than tomorrow is not promised, and enjoy today. So thank you very much.